Cool. Hey, everybody. I'm very excited about today's panel and about our topic, mainly because these are things that have been near and dear to me for close to 2 decades. Number one is family advocacy. Who do doulas work for is the number one question that I want to talk about. And then I want to talk about what's going on with this hospital group. I'm going to let my guests tell you more about it. I have some wonderful people on our panel. And I'm going to have all of you guys just really quickly take turns introducing yourselves, nothing really long, because we have a lot of stuff to talk about, but I want all of our viewers to know who are all these people that are talking today about this topic and why it's important to you. So just real quick, we'll just start with whoever wants to start. Raise your hand. Come on. All right, I'm gonna pick you if you don't. Allison Tate.
Okay, yep, okay, I have one. So I'm Allison Tate, I'm a doula in Florida. I'm originally from Scotland, came over here 4 years ago. And my work on social media is at Back to Birth and at Doulas for Human Rights, which I kind of started a year ago to really look at this work that we're talking about today. So it's great to be here. We really need more conversation, and that's what I'm all about, conversation and community and bringing everyone together and really digging deep into what we need to do as doulas and why we find ourselves where we are today and what we can all do to really get down and into it and start to really, you know, protect our autonomy so that we can ultimately, you know, serve birthing people in the way they need to be served and the way they want to be served. Thank you. Thanks for this.
Yeah. Kara?
Hello, I am Kira Kimball. I am a doula in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also a national doula trainer and an agency owner where we specialize in providing traditional Indigenous postpartum care and really culturally aware and cultural, we specialize in cultural competency and providing an extra layer of support for clients, particularly clients of color who need who are aware of the increased risk going into childbirth in certain facilities. And so that's what our specialty is in, kind of mitigating the risk, being aware and providing information and balancing that out with fear, because we don't want people afraid, but we want them informed.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Let's see. Andrea.
Hi, I am Andrea Gerdes, and I am a doula in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a birth doula, postpartum doula, and infant sleep specialist. You can find me on social media at Complete Joy Birth. But yeah, that's basically who I am. I also run North Carolina Doulas for Birth Options. We've been working on solving this problem for like 7 months that we're having with this hospital system. So we're excited to share more about what's going on here in North Carolina with you guys today.
I'm so glad you're here. Thank you guys for making the time. Jessie.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jessie Ray. I'm an up-and-coming doula from Oakland, California, or based in Oakland, California. I am the creator of The Doodad, which is a doula practice that is aimed towards encouraging masculine identified individuals to be a part of the birthing process. And yeah, thank you, Gena, for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you.
I would love spending time with you. Traci, last but not least.
Hey, I'm Traci Weafer, and I am Traci Doula on Instagram. And Maternal Instincts Doula is my like, I guess, local business for my families here. My major goal nowadays is just spreading the news and the word about doula advocacy and advocating better for our families and opening better conversations. We need to understand that sometimes topics are not all black and white as far as the issues go. So I just love opening up conversations, bringing in more perspectives and hoping to get down to some solutions instead of always being in the limbo of some of these topics. So I'm excited. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm really excited to talk about it. So let's just get into it right now. You guys can pick amongst yourselves who wants to answer this question. But you said, I heard Andrea say 7 months ago, this all kind of started. Give me like a little bite about what Novant Health was doing, or like when they got it started, and how it affected folks. So you guys, you can jump in whenever you want to. I want this to be like a conversation. So who wants to start that one off?
I'll start on like the Novant Health issue, and then I'm sure Kira can fill in, you know, where I am lacking there. But basically, you know, like a lot of hospital systems around the country and the world, I suppose, with COVID-19, Novant Health decided to limit support for labor delivery to one support person. That was at the end of March that they did that, and March 2020. So we were, you know, not surprised by this. This is what everyone's expecting. So, you know, we're switching to virtual, all those different kinds of things. But as doulas, we were, you know, working to try to get back in with our clients as soon as it was safe to do so, and trying to figure out those things. So in June, we, you know, doulas in Charlotte and other areas of North Carolina and anywhere else where Novant hospitals are, I suppose, received an email that, you know, good news, doulas are welcome back in. We recognize your importance, and this is how you're going to do it. You have to register to be a vendor at the hospital. And just the initial application included a $335 fee to become a vendor. You had to, you know, be up to date on certain vaccinations. You had to submit, you had to do a drug test. You had to do a background check. You had to be a certified doula. And there were several, I can't even remember everything, but there's this whole application process that you had to do and the goal was to get doulas back in by July in this process. And the reason that we were given is this was for safety, that this was the only safe way that doulas could get back into the hospital. And understandably, a lot of us were not very happy with that. You know, pay to play wasn't going over well. Being certified wasn't going over well. Having to provide some personal medical information and other things to the hospital was not going well. Again, the Novant wasn't paying us. Our clients are still paying us, but these are their requirements of what they wanted to get back in. So since then, you know, we're now into February 2021. A few things have changed. The fee has been lowered, but you know, Kira, maybe you can shed more light on to like if that was also very unfairly done, in that some doulas were getting a lowered rate of $25, but not everybody knew like the secret code to get the $25 versus the $335, and then there was this whole thing, and so that was an issue as well. And they did change it to, you don't have to be certified, but you must be trained and have like letters of recommendation. So like a brand new doula starting out is not going to be able to really access this vendor program. And add to that, you know, as of right now, this program is still going. Not only are a good chunk of the area doulas not participating as vendors, so you know, birthing families are not getting access to the doula of their choice, they also don't really have the support of their choice. It's either you have one support person still for like the vast majority of birthing people in the hospital, or if you can afford a vendor, you can have a second support person. If you can afford a vendor doula and find a vendor doula that's available to you, then you may have a second person. So just, there's a whole lot to unpack there, but that's sort of the crux, I think, of the issue. So I don't know if Kira wants to add some things to that, but I'll mute myself.
No, I think you summarized that pretty well. You can imagine the dynamics of what this has caused. So there are some people that provide support professionally, and there's others that do the occasional birth. We have volunteer doulas. And so what it has created is essentially wiped out volunteer doulas, because they the fees to just start was $335. By the time you added in all the other hidden fees, it was closer to $500. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a volunteer to pay $500 to come in and occasionally support people. Usually when you're volunteering, it's low income or teens or something, the ones that are really need the support the most. And so it's created this dynamic where it's the haves and the have-nots. You can go in if you want and get kind of the luxury service. And this is perpetuating the myth that doulas are a luxury, because some of these doulas are charging twice, 3 times as much as some of the other doulas, but they're not vendors. And so it really has become where the hospital is determining the standard of who is a doula, and that should never be. And this is just one hospital system. What we're asking for is what the other hospital system in our area is doing, which is allowing the patient to choose, who do you want to be your support person? And that's what we are advocating for, choice. We don't care if you don't want a doula. We want you to have the choice to take whatever 2 people you want, because it's unfair to have some people allowed to have 2 people with them and others to only have 1. And then the hospital have the ultimate say over who that second support person can be. That's a slippery slope when the hospital gets to determine who the patient can bring as their guest. Because it might be doulas now, but a year from now, we can see where they are determining, well, which partners can come in. And so it's really important to protect the autonomy of patients right now.
Well, it's not something that's happening all the time, right? Allison, you want to jump in?
Sure. Yes. Thank you, Kira and Andrea for that. I think what we, there are so many layers to this conversation. I mean, it's so deep, and, there are many things that have been flagged up for me personally in the work that I'm trying to do, in the spaces I'm trying to create for conversation and accountability, really. And ultimately, we need to be beginning with the question, well, with a statement that, hospital providers do not govern us and they do not control us. We are not regulated. And then on the back end of that, we need to, as doulas, actually sit down and think really hard and long and deeply about who we believe we are, and really start to do the work that is associated with that. I don't believe that there's been enough of that happening. I think we need to individually be accountable for that work, and collectively we need to support each other as doulas to do that work, to actually start to unpick, what are my beliefs about birth, about my role as a doula? What do I believe I should be doing? Who has shaped my beliefs around birth? What training did I take? What did they teach me about, who a doula is and who a doula is not, and the scope that I should be following, and how I should be behaving, and how I should be advocating or not, and where human rights fits within that. And there is so much in that. And I think there's a lot of accountability to be kind of owned when we start to talk about the training of doulas and the shaping of doulas, ultimately within a system that is very harmful. And I very much believe that, and I want to protect the autonomous role of doulas, to ultimately serve the rights of birthing people, to ensure that they have the right to a safe birth experience that is not harmful, that does not discriminate, that does not leave them traumatized. And this is ultimately the system that we are in. So I'm all about just supporting doulas to have those conversations, to have the space to really do that work for themselves, to unpick their own stories, their own traumas, their own beliefs, so that ultimately we can see why we have landed where we are, when we start to see how providers are laying down rules and requirements around who we are, who we serve, how we do it, what we do and what we don't. And we find ourselves in this place for many, many reasons. So there's many conversations to be had. And I think that's really the message that I'm so keen to get out there, that we need more spaces for conversation and accountability and for healing. There's a lot of trauma, and that is throughout the whole of the system, and it's throughout the doula communities also. And we've got a great deal of work to do.
Yeah, we do. Traci, did you want to, or anybody, just let me know if you want to jump in, because I have a lot to say, and I won't be the only one to do it.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think the very first thing that comes to my mind is, we don't work for a facility. We don't work for, independent doulas work for the family. And that's my bottom line is we're not regulated. We don't have to be certified. We don't even have to be trained. The evidence-based statistics are not those that were trained or those that had a piece of paper that went into the hospital with their families. It was that extra person that was just giving the support. So when I hear these rules or I hear these standards that, are being set by hospitals, my very soul goes straight to, I don't work for you. But there's a perspective that we have to remember that is the other side. And I appreciate Andrea and Kara so much, for keeping this conversation going on that front. It's not about being trained it's really not about the rules. Like we can go down the list of these rules and say how ridiculous they are because of the foundational part that they don't have the authority to even make these rules for us. So if we're presented with this, fact that Novant has come, to the doula community in that you have to do these things, so you have a right to not work, in or with a hospital system. So, your community can pick somewhere else to go, and that is an argument in itself. So on the consumer side is where our focus needs to be on the unfair part of Novant skimming down this list and not providing the freedom of these consumers to be able to hire who they want to. And which is a problem, which is a huge problem for the community that Kara and Andrea serve. Also, I just got off the phone with, somebody had contacted me that was a doula, a vendor with the hospital, and said, I would love to give, my perspective of what's going on also, which I'm all about. I will, talk to anybody on any side. Everybody has worth. Everybody has a perspective. Let's get down to some solutions on serving families better. And, so Heidi Campbell is, and I'm sure, Kara, and I'm pointing to you on my screen. Isn't that funny? Kara and Andrea probably know her. So she just, she's like, look, I get both sides. So, Heidi is coming from a perspective. She already had a vendor license because she was already working for the system in neurosurgery. So she was already seeing this coming from Novant way before the pandemic. So we have to remember that this just isn't about a pandemic. This is about a control nature that the hospital system seems to have in the beginning when these things come about. And, she was kind of going down the list, and I was getting her thoughts on some of these red flags. You have to be, vaccinated, you have to be this, and you have to be that. And, she said, no, you don't have to be certified. We don't have to necessarily be trained. And I said, okay, tell me how you're getting around some of these rules that apparently Novant wants these vendors to have. And she said, well, each system or each hospital system that has a vendor partnership, I guess is what you can call it, you have to go into that system and do your little checklist if you are a vendor. And and she wanted me to know that some of these rules are not that big of a deal, is kind of what I gathered from her, which of course right in my soul means I still don't work for them. I don't care how easy these hoops are to jump through. I still don't work for you. And that's the bottom line is I wanted to hear Heidi out because she saw it from her perspective. I'm a vendor. They're blanketing everybody in the vendorship. Still, I don't work for you.
I want to say something to it's not that big of a deal.
I want to scream something about that, but you go first.
I mean, isn't that all about perspective and like where you're coming from? If somebody is already a vendor, of course it's not a big deal for them. You know, no big deal. I know many people who have attempted the vendor process or gone through the vendor process, and I would say that none of them would say it's easy, okay? It's definitely not an easy process to do. But whether it's easy or not, you know, some of these other hospitals around the country, you know, maybe they don't have a difficult vendor program to do. Maybe it's just show your certification, but it's still creating this group and that group. So I don't care how easy or hard or whatever it is, and there's a level of privilege there to say this isn't that hard. For many people, it's going to be very hard. But at the very bottom of it is, yes, we don't work for you. Also, the conflict of interest of me as a doula who is hired by my clients, who is then walking into a facility, showing my vendor badge, walking through the vendor entrance, okay, showing my badge, I'm clocking in and clocking out basically. They know when I'm in the building, they know when I'm coming in, they know when I'm leaving. And you know, that's not working for my client. You know, there is the line is getting thinner and thinner as to who am I working for? And if I'm working for my client, I need to be accountable only to my client, not to the hospital, not to their policies, not to, am I going to lose my badge if I advocate? Am I going to lose my badge if I say, you know, something that's different than what the provider's saying? Like, I can't put myself in that position. And so, for instance, I have a client, she's a repeat, she's due very soon at Novant, and I will be supporting her virtually because that's all I'm able to do right now, but at least I'm able to do it fully in, you know, my power as an independent doula. I'm not worried about losing a badge there. You know, I'm not worried about like what I can say and what I can't say. Like, I'm going to be able to fully support her. So that would be, you know, I get why some people are becoming doulas. They want to be in there serving their clients. Dang it, I want to be in there serving my clients too. But I'm not going to do it under the conditions like this because there's too many people that are being left by the wayside, and that's just not right. And it really comes down to like choice. And you know, the hospital doesn't get to choose. The hospital doesn't get to choose who is, and I would say the other thing is, so you're saying that Heidi was saying this was coming down the pike before COVID. These were, and I absolutely 100% believe that to be true from everything that we've heard, is that we wanted to do this anyway. We were trying to get this through anyway before COVID. And that, but the thing is, they didn't do it before COVID because it would never have worked.
Right.
Doulas would not have signed up for it. Right. You know, they used the situation of being, now you're out and this is the way to get back in, to put in something that they wanted to put in place ahead of time. I get that, but like, I promise you, had they tried it beforehand, it was not going to go through. Like, as long as doulas can get in as visitors, why are they going to sign up for this vendor thing? So, and it does point to the fact that this program has nothing to do with COVID. And we've said it over and over and over again. Providers are telling birthing people in our community, all your doula has to do is take a COVID class and then they can get back in. It is not a COVID class. It does not have to do with COVID. So that's just sort of a few things that I thought of listening to that. So
well, and that's where I come from when y'all hear me talk about, you know, the gaslighting of the system, or you know, or breadcrumbing. That's what I call that, is, oh, we weren't allowed in and now we're not essential. And I just need somebody to tell me that I'm essential. I need for somebody to tell me that I'm important. And so therefore I'm just going to jump through these hoops to get this badge so I can do what they're telling me that, you know, that I can't do during the pandemic. And now it's overflowed. And when we get out of this excuse of being in a pandemic, it's going to continue because now they, you know, now they have control over the overabundance or amount of doulas who needed that. And, you know, that's trauma bonding. And that is such an unhealthy relationship and place to be, especially for newer doulas who just don't know, because I understand it too. I mean, if you had a long list of people that were due during the pandemic and all you were doing was trying to just serve them, I totally understand and I totally get it. But if we recognize what not just Novit, but the entire hospital system is doing, and we all band together to figure out how organized ways of standing up and saying, we don't work for you, how can we serve our communities well in other hospital systems or other ways, is what's going to be productive.
I really want to get to talking more about a type of, oh my gosh, and Candace just said collaborative action. How we can do it, because this is not going to be the only time that this happens across the country. And I'm really hoping that we can make, that y'all can make a difference. I just keep saying we, because I want to help, because I'm angry. I want to make Nova be make them an example of how this does not work and how the communities can come together and say, hell no, this is garbage. I pick who I want as my provider. You don't pick it. I'm paying you. Screw you. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all to me. I'm going to pay you to tell me you're already screwing up the healthcare system as it is. And then you're going to put this layer of mayo on top and make it even worse. Sorry to everybody who likes mayonnaise. I'm just saying it pisses me off as a consumer. As a consumer and as a consumer advocate, I'm doubly pissed because this is just a slap in the face to people. And I want to get to the whole part about it being racist as AF. I don't know who's watching this with kids in the background. And it is. And I'm hoping one of y'all are going to speak to this in more maybe excited tones, because it makes me really mad. It's not even thinly veiled. It's barely even veiled what they're doing and the way that they're doing it. And it's not the first time. It's part of this whole systemic garbage that makes it so hard to give birth in this freaking country. And then God forbid that you're trying to do it as a Black person, because it's going to be a 240% times harder than it is for anybody else. And the way that they're doing it just makes me want to scream. I'm sorry. I'm trying to like make sure I'm taking care of all the video and audio and reading stuff too while I'm trying to use my brain. That's how important it was. Yeah, exactly. As potential birthing people, we should all be pissed that we have to have money to have birth support. Yeah, absolutely. It's bad enough that they're doing it. And like you were saying, Traci, that they kind of like got away with this under like the dark of night, and dark of night means COVID, and thought that they were going to get away with it. And I really don't want them to. So I will be looking personally for legal help for us in Charlotte, because this can't be legal.
Gina?
It can't be. Yes, please, Jessie.
I just was curious on thoughts that everyone had. I know that in some of the groups that I've been pulled into in California, we're like we're trying to get the issue moved up to maybe like a policymaker or someone in office statewide. And I know some of the other doulas were working on like trying to work it out, like letters to the hospital or corporate entities or whatever. I don't know how far they got in that, but I know that the Doulas Are Essential Coalition, which is the ones that are trying to get in California more policy stuff driven, they've made some progress just in terms of meeting with local politicians and stuff like that. So I'm just curious if that's a route that has been considered there as well.
I'm so glad you said that.
So we have reached out many times to hospital officials. At one time they were speaking, but now it's just like now they've been invited to participate in these conversations. They ignore us. They don't have to talk to us because there are doulas willing to be part of the policy.
Right.
If we had stood together, then they would be forced to talk to us. But right now they don't need to be, because there are doulas who are willing to do it. And I find those doulas fall into two categories: either desperate, I'm new doula, I'm willing to take whatever clients I can get, or greed. You know, I've got these contracts out, I can't afford to refund people, or my doula business supports my life. This is my business and I can't afford to let my business fail. And so those are the two categories. And they've even used terms like, well, this gives me an advantage, it allows me to corner the market. because
Ooh.
90% of our doulas are banned from the hospital. So if 90% of your competition is gone, they and the midwives and hospital staff are filtering clients to you, it really throws off some dynamics. Gena, you brought up the conversation about race. 98% of our Black doulas are locked out of the hospital.
Oh
So
my
if
God.
you want a Black doula, you have to settle for second-class service. Your Black doula can't come in through the doors of the hospital, but if you want a white doula, you can. And so I think these kinds of things need to be discussed, because that may not have been their intention, but that's the side effect. That's the result. And the fact that you're not willing to even have a discussion about that shows us that you don't value that discussion, value that result. I'm sure all of you participating know the statistics that are involved with Black birthers. 3 to 4 more times to have either complications from pregnancy or childbirth, or to die from pregnancy or childbirth. These are the people that need doulas the most, but like so many things, they are disproportionately negatively impacted by this policy, and nobody wants to talk about it.
Oh, I want to talk about it.
Nobody who has the power to change things wants to talk about it. And I think it's really important that consumers know, because they ask their providers, are there any doulas, or do we need Black doulas? And they'll just say no. Or they make up something. They'll say, oh, we only allow 1 visitor. And they don't even tell them about the option to bring a doula. And so that's so much of what our job is, to make sure that they are getting full, complete, accurate information. That's what our role is. And so I'm not surprised that there are tactics of either giving misinformation, giving partial information, like, oh, all your doula has to do is register and put her name on the list. It's not that. And so then it becomes our job to explain their policy. And I'm not doing that. I'm sending people back to the hospital and say, make your hospital explain their policy. And that's what I'm trying to do as doulas. So many times doulas fall into this role of being a martyr and saying, I'm going to sacrifice myself, my ideals. I'm going to sacrifice the whole field of birth work to be able to serve this family that I feel so bad for. But in contrast, that hurts so many other families. It hurts the entire future. Like, what is this going to look like 10 years from now if you decide to sign on to a policy that you know is wrong and discriminatory, but you do it because you have a handful of clients that you need to serve now, and you're not focused on other families that may not be working with you, and families down the line that are going to need support and won't be able to get it. And so much of what we do is taking the power away from the patients and saying, we're going to make this decision for you. Or this intervention, to going back to your point about not being such a big deal, that's what they say to them about interventions. Oh, this is an induction. It's not a big deal. You'll get to have your baby instead of waiting past your due date. And they don't fully explain what this intervention means. Controlling who the doulas are is an intervention, and patients need to have the choice of whether or not they want to accept that intervention. And they need to know the risk of not being able to have the doula of your choice and having to go from the ones that the hospital has approved, what that risk is and what that means for the families.
Right. And I think
I love that.
Wait. Go ahead. I will hold my comments to the end. Who else wanted to talk?
Well, I was just going to say that's the saddest part. That's the ripple that we need to be really loud about is consumers don't realize how hospitals work and how really douladom works in the majority of just everyday consumers. So what I want consumers to know about things like this is, are you okay with a hospital structuring a profession that has no authority to structure it? Because if they are, then they're getting ready to structure and be in control of your birth.
Yeah, Emily said the clients are capable of vetting their own birth support. They do not need or want the hospital making that decision for them. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, just really quick, we're going to go. I want to make sure everybody has time to say something, and then a lot of our participants, we have a lot of participants right now. Just hearing I can't remember who said it now because my eyeball's twitching. I can't make it stop. Kira said that one of the doulas said that she wanted to corner the market. Why are you a doula? First of all, this bothers me a lot because now you're looking at your clients the way the hospital looks at your clients. You're supposed to be there to take care of them, not to take advantage of situations that make them look more like numbers than human beings, than the human bodies that you're supposed to be loving and protecting and holding space for. I think if you are a consumer watching this right now, please do yourself a favor and ask your doula if she considers herself a business doula or a human body doula. What's more important to her? What aspect of being a doula is the most important part, and what part does she nurture the most in the work that she does? That's all I have to say, because I'm ready to cry thinking about cornering the market on human bodies.
Yeah,
it's chilling to hear. That's just, I feel like maybe our pendulum, the universe is always seeking balance, and maybe we went a little too natural, a little too spiritual, and scared everybody to death, and the pendulum had to swing really hard this way and go way too about money and business. And then hopefully we can find some kind of balance and get back somewhere in the middle where we're putting people first.
Yeah.
But
can I just add in there? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is that okay? Yeah, I'm just, just hearing so much,
So I'm done talking because I'm gonna say something. And then we're gonna go to our go ahead.
Oh, is it okay to speak? I don't want to speak over anyone. I just wanted to really just touch in really on the sense of doulas as being interventions, okay, and absolutely everything you just spoke of there, Gena, and as I said when I first spoke on this call, I cannot emphasize enough just how much we have to sit with ourselves as individual doulas as to why we are here and what are we doing. Because we are interventions, and we cannot serve birthing people truly to be safe if we have not done our own inner work that we need to do in order to show up and truly serve people as human beings. They are being forced to birth within a system that is dehumanized, that is harmful. And as doulas, we have to really, really be accountable for our role in being complicit within a system that is killing and traumatizing and harming birthing people, particularly those, who are Black and of color and of other marginalized groups. And we cannot accept that, and I will not accept it.
Oh, I love you so much. I love everybody in this group so much.
I want to say something really fast. Yeah. I think we
keep making space for the conversations. We talk about the hard stuff.
Gena, that you can swing too far one way or another. And I'm not saying that every doula needs to be in there doing free births all the time and no one should ever get paid. Like, this work is hard and is valuable, and I think doulas deserve to get paid. I don't think anyone is saying that, but it's like, at what cost are we going to put getting paid over our integrity? Are we going to put getting paid over our clients' human rights? Where, at what point do we draw that line and say, no, I'm not going to get paid for this because this is not ethical for me. This is not right for me. So I know for myself, and I'm sure for Kira and for so many of the other doulas that are not signing up for this, that are holding the line, we are losing clients to the vendor doulas, and it sucks. It sucks. I just got an inquiry yesterday for a Novant client, and I'm going to have to sit there and tell her, you can hire me, but you're going to have to choose me over your husband or have me virtual because I can't get in there. And I hate that. I hate it every single time. But on the flip side of things, am I going to, because I want to have more clients or whatever it is, I'm going to then sacrifice my profession and like what I believe that it should be? Am I going to put myself in a situation where there's a conflict of interest that I cannot advocate the way that I want to advocate? No, I'm not going to do that. And it has hurt my business's bottom line. It has. But that's where we all have to, like Allison says, we have to sit with ourselves. What is our core reason? What are we in this for? Is it to make money, or is it to, you know, serve birthing families? You can have both, okay? You can't, you know, you can have both, but like, what is your core purpose? And that's, I think, really important. And I think consumers need to understand like what a person's core purpose is. What is their doula, you know, what is their doula doing in there? What is she doing? Or he? What is she or he doing in that room?
So
you know?
often, have you ever seen
last point I want to share, I'm gonna get right to you, Kira, and then Jessie, looks like you want to say something too. Just the people that are already in there, if they're looking around, they're not seeing any of their Black doula sisters in there. They know what's going on. You are complicit. You're complicit. You might as well just say, I don't want you here. Just say that. Just put it on your shirt and say what it is, because you're being complicit. Just sit the hell down and think about who you are, and then be honest about who you are. Just be honest.
Yeah, and they will turn right around and say that I'm an ally, that they are perfectly capable of providing support to people of color, to Black people, and at the same time do this to where you're eliminating Black doulas and don't care about that.
Sean said they will say that they don't care. Someone else said that's a lie, and get upset and want to cry. We are being attacked when called on the floor. Participating in a system that actively I'm reading this. Participating in a system that actively discriminates against birthing people is unethical. It's a detriment. Oh my gosh, I'm like lost here. It's a detriment to the doula profession as a whole, and sets a dangerous precedent of removing control from the patient. And that's what Kira was saying right now. I'll get back to Kira. I just want to just call it what it is. I can do that. I don't live in Charlotte. I don't care. This is for doulas everywhere who do this kind of thing, and people everywhere who do this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Just, you're complicit in that particular system of oppressing other people. End of story. And I don't care who hears it.
I was going to ask if you've ever seen doulas who feel like they need that approval. They finish a birth, and the highest compliment they get is when the nurse or the doctor or the midwife tells them that you did a really good job.
When I first started, I think I'd been a doula for maybe 4 months, and there was another doula in town, and I'm telling you, she'd get off like making friends with the doctors and like just love the little pat on the head and like, and
the selfie together afterwards.
And that's the whole thing. You and I were talking about it last time. It's like Animal Farm. Like, it started out like they were against the farmer was the bad guy, and then they got rid of the farmer, and then all of a sudden at the end, like the pigs end up looking kind of like the farmers, and you couldn't tell them apart from and they sold out the rest of the other animals just so that they could sit at the table with the farmer. Yeah, man.
They want that approval
all the time. And I am not popular because I have no problem talking about that. Like, what kind of doula are you? Who do you serve? Are you serving your ego first? Are you serving your wallet first? Who are you serving first? What order does your client actually come in?
And the last person the patient needs in that room is someone else coercing them to be an easy patient, to not make noise,
to the system.
Right, and they love the medical providers love that when you can get the doula to convince them that they should go ahead and accept this intervention, and that makes you a good doula. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the medical providers love you does not mean that you're a good doula.
Yeah.
I want to know, what are your patients saying about you? How do your patients feel after they've worked with you?
Yeah. Have you had any?
Oh, go ahead, Jessie, please.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask really quick, Kira, if you had any, I was just curious if you had any support from some of the larger organizations like DONA or anything like that, just because I've heard of their stance in like the state here and stuff like that. I was just curious if what they were doing out there for you, or if you had any help from those.
You think so, right? Because a lot of doulas are reaching out when this first happened, reaching out to their organization saying, hey, we need help in North Carolina. Hey, we need help in Tennessee. We need help in Florida. And the organizations are happy to keep taking money, keep enrolling into my program, keep signing up for our trainings, but then they are not being helpful and getting you back into the hospitals. I did reach out to some. They were happy to send a letter, and that was it. I had one that sent me a letter to preview, and it was basically, hey, we'd be interested in helping you set up that hospital doula program if you want to talk to us. The opportunistic approach. What can I get out of this? And so, no, and I asked doulas to look at it. Are you continuing to pay dues to an organization that is not supporting you? And why do you keep doing that? Why do you feel like you need those letters after your name? Is it helping you? Is it helping your patients? Is it helping your clients?
But that's what organizations want them to think.
That's right. Thank you. Embrace your birth doula. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sorry, I don't want to jump in, but I really have to on this one. This one has really been in my bonnet for quite a period of time, and we really need to make space for a conversation about the role that doula training organizations are playing in either setting doulas up with the skills that they require to navigate a dysfunctional, traumatizing, harmful system or not. And there is certainly a huge role to be played by doula training organizations in the situation that we find ourselves in right now on the topic that we are talking about today, but just more widely in the way that doulas are viewing their role. And what are we actually providing within the training? You know, are we really providing learning opportunities that are really needed to truly serve in this system right now so that we can center birthing people in their care? And it's like, I cannot talk about it enough right now. And I think we need to provide space to really dig deep into that, to invite in some voices from doula training organizations to have a conversation about this, because it is a significant issue that we need to talk about right now.
I don't know if we talked about, I know Andrea touched on some of the requirements to become a member.
I have absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure that people understood that what we were talking about, the scope, because there are the restrictions that are very common and across the country, which are equally troubling, about having to show that you're a doula to be able to get in, and then maybe the one support person. But ours is a little bit to another level, where they want to have they want to see your highest level of education, which, I mean, for some people, it's no big deal. I'll show you that. But other people, it carries great shame with that, or a criminal background check. For some people, oh, that's no big deal because it's clean. What about a doula that has something from 18, 19 years old? And, you know, why is that the hospital's business? And it doesn't say anything about what kind of COVID risk you are, or if you are, you know, what kind of safety threat you are. And then you wonder, well, if you want to know my criminal background, what about this visitor next to me? What about the partner? You're going to drug test them? And what gives you the right to do that? And so I don't think they should treat visitor number 2 any differently than visitor number 1. If you're going to treat doulas differently, that's a problem, because we are there as the patient's guest, and you can't decide which guests you are going to interrogate. We just had a birth last week where there was a stop and frisk on a partner when we walked in.
Oh my God.
And they don't do that to everyone. They pick and choose. There are, I've heard of a partner not being allowed to be with his girlfriend unless he agreed to get the Tdap vaccine. You can't force these interventions on people. And these are not even doulas. These are just partners. But it's kind of that overstep that keeps going up incrementally. And if we don't stop this now, it's going to get worse and worse.
That's illegal. Oh my God. I lost the video. No, you're incredibly right. And thank you so much. And okay. Last time, okay, guys, I told everybody in the chat room that I was going to let them talk, but let me go ahead and get to Allison really quick, and then we're going to let everybody talk. Sorry. Everyone's all heated up and excited, and I love it. Okay, unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just sort of my last comment on this, and you know, I just listening to Kira, you know, it's just so wonderful to hear her speak on all of this. And there's, you know, how can we, you know, when we're talking about the role of doula training organizations, how can we, you know, when we find ourselves in the space that we're in right now globally around these different, you know, all these restrictions look different in different places, but ultimately, how can we expect doulas to question the impact of these if the training that they are being given is not setting them up for that kind of critical thinking, if it is setting them up to think in a certain way that makes them complicit in a system. So I just wanted to add that in. But if we really want to have doulas that are critical thinkers, that are going to stop and look at a situation, think about the bigger picture, you know, within, you know, outcomes for maternal outcomes, for racial disparities, for racism, for human rights, for all of these issues, if we're not supporting doulas to do that, as well as not helping them unpack their own trauma and not helping them identify the skills that they need to have to be able to walk into these spaces, this is why we end up where we are.
But that's by design, Allison. That's by design.
Of course.
By design.
Yes.
Those
and we have to kind of really we have to hold
their
them
business
to a higher
too.
standard.
Yeah. All right. I gotta let these,
thank you.
Of course, thank you. I gotta let these folks have a voice really quick. They were all excited to join us. There was the sidebar here while we were talking to you about oh my gosh, okay, really quick. Well, yeah, Allison, you had said that we need a deeper conversation about doula training organizations and their role in teaching doulas to be complicit in a harmful system. A lot of amens here. And then talking about DONA as one of the certifying bodies, and then a lot of emojis about DONA. Someone saying that they were complicit also. Someone said, I left DONA this year for this specific reason in Oregon. I talking about organizations. I think you were talking about how they make money, Kira, about, you know, how they can keep making money training doulas and then not speaking up about any of this stuff. And I said, yeah, I scream out against all of this stuff. That's why I'm broke. DONA will never be my spokesperson as a doula. I could no longer align with an organization that was so complicit with the problem. Someone said, I asked DONA, they said to look at their website. Why are they not condoning this when it directly violates their organizational standards? They can remove doula certification if they're complained against or going out of scope. Why are their own ethical obligations being ignored? I left Kappa as an instructor because I could not keep telling doulas that they are not advocates and that they should be silent in the birth room. Yeah, I'm glad you left. And then certification organizations should hold their doulas accountable for participating in discriminatory policies. Thank you, Emily, for that. Okay, now I'm going to get to Molly. Oh, someone said, how can a doula organization do that for their members when they've been publicly discriminated, when they have publicly discriminated against Black and Brown people? And someone said this is appalling. All right, Molly, let's get to Molly. Molly's got lots to say. Hi, Molly Patterson. It's nice to see your face. You have to unmute yourself, though. Gotta unmute you.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
See that woman over there, Traci? This is a shame that you should hear conversations between Traci and I. Ooh, lolly. First of all, Kira, thank you. I want to thank you as somebody who started her practice in Charlotte in 2007. I am sorry to tell you that this has been a long-term systemic thing, and I'm so sorry. And when I get to Charlotte in 2 weeks, I want to hug you. Here's the thing. It really does come down to that systemic thing. If the system chooses the training organizations, if the system is choosing organizations that don't empower Black doulas to serve the Black community, which is what should be happening, but they pick and choose, and if DONA or Kappa or any of those other organizations is not being proactive in that process, then you're going to get alienation, and you're going to get doulas coming in who are new and indoctrinated and think that this is what it's supposed to look like, and this is what normal looks like. I was on a thread in a doula group in Oregon just recently, kind of talking about a little bit of this topic and saying, so what happens when you get into a situation in your birthing room with your client, and there's a moment where you need to advocate for your client? do you align with your client and advocate for them? Or do you kick your client under the bus because you're afraid of not being able to be let into that hospital again? I choose to take fewer clients because I choose to have the clients I'm supposed to have, not the clients I feel like I need. And if I'm consulting with a client and I think they would fit better with another doula, then I send them to that other doula. That's professionalism. That's a true business person. So I'm going to have the clients that I'm supposed to have. The clients are going to have the doula that is the right fit for what matters for their birth experience. That's what it comes down to. Us asking the client, what matters most to you about your birth experience and how can I help you get to that place? And if that means I'm not your doula, then that means I'm not your doula, and I'm going to help you get to the doula that you need. Those are the trainings we need to have for doulas, not this is how you advertise. This is what you need to do to make nice with the doctors. This is what you need to. And I remember the days when I would leave a birth and think, oh my gosh, I hope that nurse liked me. Oh my gosh, I hope that they all like. I remember that. I still have to call Tracy and go, okay, talk me off the ledge, hun. You know, I still have those moments. And at the same time, I take a deep breath. I ground myself and I remember, why am I here? Why did I attend the first birth? Why do I keep doing this? It's so that I can help my clients have the conversations that matter to them. And when they are finished with their birth experience, they felt heard, equipped, and empowered. The system is never going to believe that for a client. And if doulas don't stand up and do that, and if organizations are not held accountable, there are organizations that are aligning with the system so that they can do insurance better. Here in Oregon, we have Oregon Healthcare Plan. The Oregon Healthcare Plan is aligning with different organizations to do traditional healthcare worker. Do I think it's a great idea? Absolutely, for the people who need it. If that's what you need, do that. Fantastic. And what's happening is, you know, and I know Tiffany's on here too. She could probably speak to this as well. But we have to be careful who we're aligning with. And it comes down to the system is aligning with organizations and they're forgetting the clients in the process. And they're indoctrinating the new doulas to do it this way. And then these new doulas are not listening to the old doulas who have been around for us. Wow, us geezer doulas. I'm proud to be a geezer doula. I am dang proud to be an old geezer doula. I've been there, done that. Not much I haven't seen. Not many doctors. I've taken a placenta away from a doctor. So I don't have a problem with that at all. And he was in North Carolina. If we don't have good mentorship for doulas, if we don't have doulas coming alongside doulas and saying, how can I help you be a better professional, be a better businesswoman? I think you can be a businesswoman and a doula, but to be a true business person and professional as a doula, you have to have your motives right. You just have to have it right. And it's a systemic thing. It's a systemic thing. It's a systemic thing. And the system has never wanted doulas in the hospitals. And in Charlotte and in North Carolina, it's really, really bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just gave me a lot of I want to talk to you later, Molly. You just inspired me. Came up with this idea about mentorship and how we can go about doing that for more people and make it available, because there's so many people starting out that just don't have any money and they can't afford a mentor. They can't go to hospitals and leave their kids behind, but they want to learn. And I just had a great idea. Thank you for that.
And you don't have to be a mentor that lives in the same state as you, or the same city as you.
We've learned that from the whole epidemic.
Yeah, you don't have to have, yes, it's lovely to have that, but you don't have to have that.
So true.
You are a Black woman or a Black man or a Black human being or a person of in a specific community. you need to be able to align it because there may not be a group. So let's connect you with the people who can best support you and speak life into you and give you the tools to be successful.
Exactly. Thank you, Molly. Thank you for, I'm so glad you popped in here. I'm so happy. I got another person though. I want to talk to you guys all day. Ask to unmute, lower hand.
I just want to pop in on that last part of what Molly just said. You can be successful without hoarding information. And you don't have to play dirty and get these advantages to be successful.
Corner that market. This just pisses me off. All right. So we have I think it's Malia. Did I say your name right?
Yes.
Hi.
You know me as Rebel Mystic Midwife Gena.
Oh, yes, I do. Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to say something really quick. We've talked about this before, and I think you and I talked about this when we did an Instagram Live together, this idea of working from the inside. As someone who is a CPM in my state, not legally recognized, but I work for a birth center with CNMs who are legally recognized in this state, but still very much under the thumb of doctors here. A CNM in my state has to have permission to practice from a physician. Therefore, midwives here in this state that are licensed to practice have to have that. They have to work from the inside. They don't have a choice. It's that or you don't get to practice, or you practice illegally. So doulas are the lifeline of people who don't have to work within the system to practice. Doulas are the people who don't have to do that. So we have to preserve that. There is no working from the inside for doulas because you don't have to be inside to function. Once you get in there, you're so worried about keeping your place in there that the work of working from the inside doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. And the other point I wanted to make is that, and I came in the year after Molly did here in North Carolina. You know, I started practicing here as a doula in 2008. And, you know, part of what being a doula is helping to educate pregnant folks and pregnant families who are expecting on making intuitive decisions. Taking the information that you're giving and checking in, like check in with yourself, check in, does it resonate? Does it feel right? And when I have talked to folks about this Novant vendor program, and I have said, do you believe this is right? Do you believe this is right and good for patients, right and good for clients, right and good for doulas? Nobody believes it's good. Nobody believes it's right. But yet they're compromising and doing it. And there's a whole list of reasons. And I think Traci talked about some of those, like, oh, it was coming down the pike anyway. Yeah, they tried to do this in 2014. They tried to get us all to sign up to come tour the hospital and sign on to a program saying all these benefits would be given. And everybody was like, hell to the no, not doing it. Like it got put on the back burner because no one would do it at that point. But also now, you know, just the accountability. And I'm just speaking to non-BIPOC doulas here, you know, in my area, but, you know, everywhere too is, you know, own. If you believe this is good, if you believe this is fair, own the fact that you are ignoring the voices of Black and Brown and BIPOC doulas who are telling you this is discriminatory. This is not part of your anti-racist work. You are, just admit that you are flat out bypassing those voices for your own gain. That is all that this is. And, you know, I'm like Gena, I'll just say whatever and not be liked. I'm fine with that. I'm almost 50 years old. I could care less. Same. But that's what is happening here. That's the reason they've all gone into the secret. There's like a secret group. There's like a, come join our group, we'll support you here. The reason that is needed is because that's what we do when we know we're not doing something right. We kind of,
is that like parlor for doulas?
right? It's like let's all go over here where we can talk freely and not have to acknowledge what's actually happening here. And
That's kind of clan stuff.
Yeah, what's happening is, there's this openly, whether you think it's openly or not, there's you're openly ignoring the voices of your peers who are saying, please stop, please don't hurt us, please don't sign on to these policies that directly hurt us. This is the problem we've always had, don't make it worse. And you're just ignoring that. So that's just my take on it. Just, we have to, I'm just not into really sugarcoating things for anybody, including myself. I've had to do my own work with all of this. I'm not coming from a place of ego of like, let me be that person. I'm saying I've had to, I had to look at that when I was working for Kappa and say, okay, do I continue in something that could potentially be, decent income for me, but can I live with what I know I have to say, what I know I have to sign on to when I say I'm affiliated here? Can I live with that? That's a whole nother thing. But we are teaching folks to, follow your intuition when you're making your birth choices and your birth decisions, yet we're ignoring our own intuition that says, this is not right.
This doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this isn't about like any of us being perfect or anything. We've all made mistakes. Like, like Molly was saying, I got a kick out of the doctors liking me or nurses liking me. Everybody wants to be liked, but that's a whole other thing. Real quick, I want to have Shauna say what she came here to say. And then I want to ask Jessie a question about people who wrote. Oops, there we go. Hi.
Hi, I'm Shauna. I consider myself a brand new baby doula. Been in the game, trained with Kira. It's been about a year, almost, or to date, it's been a year. And I just wanted to touch on something because Malia brought up something that kind of just spoke to my spirit. When I heard about the vendor doula policy, as a young doula, I was like, oh gosh, like this is what I need to do to get clients, but it didn't sit right with me. And I feel like it's exactly like Malia said, these doulas that have accepted this policy don't care about that, because in the very basics, when you get rid of, when you,
wait. You said these doulas. I want you to say that again.
I don't even remember what I said.
I'm too
emotional.
Who started it, they don't care.
I just feel like they don't care. They don't care about birthing people, because at the very basic, this is wrong. And you can't tell me that people are not seeing that this is wrong. This is not a fair policy at all. There's nothing about this that is fair. I have been screaming from the top of the rooftops, like this is discrimination. This is now becoming an access to care issue. I think I'm just more frustrated and venting than anything, but it's just, I don't get it. I'm coming from a social worker background, so we're really big on ethics and all of these things. And how? Like, that's where I am with it now. How are you looking at what the very essence of a doula is and what a doula does? How are you being so complicit in this? What? Like, that's where I am right now. And I felt like I needed to say it because it just does not make any sense to me at all. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to ask Jessie, you said something and I was like, wait a minute, I think I understand what he's talking about. Hold on. Where did it go? It's way up here now. You said there is, quote, us to them. What does that mean? I
mean, I just think, unfortunately, the way that society has made Black people, at least in my opinion, made Black people always think is like, you always have to worry, is this person I'm meeting, is this person for me, or is this person on my team or not? And I think it's something we always struggle with, trusting people and allowing people in our spaces, because we always have to wonder at the end of the day, if the fire was burning down, are you going to hold my hand and jump with me too when we get to the end of that mountain, you know? Or are you going to jump your own way? You know, I think it's something we always struggle and internalize. At least for me, I always just wonder that. And it's something I'm trying to, you know, as I progress and get older and mature, I try to let that down more and more, you know? But it is something I think we always, it's just in the back of our head. We always think about, you know, is this person, you on my team or not? What's going on, you know?
I'm gonna remember that forever. I was on a Delta flight one time, one of those big jumbo ones, and I was right by the door, and you're facing this. The flight attendants are facing you, right, when they get in their jump seats, right? And we were going through like really scary turbulence, and she leans across to me and she goes, "I don't want to frighten you, but if something happens, and me and my friend here pass out, and she goes, this is how you open the door." She's like, "It says this on here, but this is what you really have to do. And you got to jiggle it a little bit and put your leg up on the wall and then pull it." And I go, "Okay." We're like this. And she goes, "And if for some reason me and Gloria here are passed out, all you got to do is unbuckle us, let us fall to the floor, and kick us down the ramp." And I go, "I promise I'll do that." And she goes, "All right, thanks." When all the turbulence was over, I got free drinks because she scared the shit out of me. But the whole thing is like, how are we going to make sure that everybody will take care of each other?
I want to be clear too.
Until it affects the bottom line.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Kira. What did you say?
I said they're on your side. They're your ally until it affects their pockets. And that's what this has proven. When it affects your doula business, then you're on your own.
Damn, I wish I had
exactly
recorded.
And
yes,
all of
I
that.
wanted to be clear. It's not just a race thing either, because it's things that you experience as someone who's queer. You experience in groups of straight people. You experience it as a male in an all-female industry. You experience that a lot of flack for that, definitely. So it's I think it speaks more to just the race thing. I think it's more of maybe like a class or elitist type. I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching it, but I think it goes beyond. It may start with race, but it does speak to a bigger issue too.
Well, I think it's very easy for us, and I talk about this a lot, especially to my workshops and my mentees, is it's really, really easy to grab a hold of those statistics that we always talk about and we always post about. But it's not always easy to actually act on those and say, you know, no, I'm really here for you and I will hold your hand while we're jumping out the window together. And it's like, no, I'm going to post about it and act like I'm on your side, because I can tell everyone that, you know, Black people or you know, Black women are 4 times likely to die in childbirth. I can post that, but am I going to go out of my way to be on your side and hold your hand while the you know, fire is burning and we jump? Because I don't want this list to be narrow. I don't want this facility to hold you back. I want you to come with me as we fight together. And you're right. Ironically, Heidi that I talked to, that is a vendor, you know, has a transgender partner. And that's exactly what I said to her. I said, this list, I said, what if you were not on this list and somebody wanted you as their doula and could not get to you? And she's like, yeah, good point. So, I mean, absolutely, this has to do with everyone. This has to do with the freedom of hiring somebody privately that you feel safe with. And when a system is not looking at that across the board, they're calling themselves out, honestly, and we just have to help them do that.
Yeah,
no shade, Traci, but is Heidi white?
Her name is Heidi Campbell.
Is she white?
I don't know. I just talked to her on the phone.
Yes, very. I mean, I do want to say that to take it a step further, what if the plane is going down and only one of you can get off?
Dun, dun, dun.
Where do you stand there?
Here's another thing too, you know, people can talk this big game about, like, you know, we support everyone and da 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 da. But when it came down to it, Kira, especially your voice was routinely being silenced in our local doula groups by mostly these doulas that are vendors who claim to be allies. Were deleting her comments, were shutting her up, and blocking her. She's like, I don't know what anybody's doing anymore because they got me all blocked. You know, they all have me blocked. She told me this the other day. I'm like, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they blocked me too. I don't know. Like, you know, but also the system is loving this, that they have created this divide. And now our birth community in Charlotte is fractured, and we got this horizontal violence going on. And that just plays into the system's hands, you know, that we're too busy like fussing at each other to fuss at them. The problem is them, you know. I don't want to get into it about like the vendor doulas versus the independent doulas and all this stuff. At the end of the day, if we had all come together at the beginning of this and said, Novant is the problem, then we wouldn't be where we are right now. If we had just all decided not to do it, because we've seen it happening in other communities where these things are popping up, and the birthing community, they just squash it. They're like, nope, we're not going to do that. And that didn't happen here. And instead it's created now this like us versus them thing. And they're, you know, and so there's voices that have been silenced in all of this. Ask Kira how many reporters we've talked to and how many stories have not made it into the paper or on TV. Like, it's just the amount of silencing that has happened throughout all of this. As a white person, like, I have not experienced that as much, you know, I'll be honest, like, I'm not used to that. But dang it, I'm not going to be part of that. That's, you know, I can't see that and be part of it. And I love what Malia said earlier to you about that, like, if you sit with this and really think about it, it cannot feel right. It just can't. Your intuition has to spark and say, this is not right. And I've literally had some of these doulas that are vendors come to me and thank me for continuing to fight against the vendor program because they don't like it, but they're still willingly participating in it. And I'm just like, y'all, you don't like it and you're glad I'm fighting it publicly, but you're going to participate in it and be complicit in it. But thanks, Andrea and Kira and Emily.
Cognitive dissonance. Oh my God.
It's Jim Crow.
Oh my God.
I don't.
You're welcome.
I don't agree with Jim Crow, but that's the way that the Jim Crow laws are. And so I'm going to go ahead and go with it.
That makes me crazy. Oh, thanks for going out there and telling everybody not to hit their kids. Meanwhile, I'm hitting my kids. That doesn't make any sense. Oh my gosh, my head's okay. One more person and then we gotta go. Let's see. Ask to unmute more. Just start video. Okay, Emily said some awesome stuff here, and I want to talk to Emily about it really quick. Emily, where you at? She said, "Oh, I gotta go up." Wow, everybody's all fired up here. This is exciting.
There.
Yeah, where are you at? Do we see her now? There she is, Emily. Hi. Emily, you said that Novant this year received awards for diversity and inclusion. We need to contact supporting organizations to let them know about these discriminatory policies. Talk to me about that some more, please.
So on October 30th of 2020, after we started this massive, movement to try and stop these policies, Novant received 5 awards by BRG, Business Resource Group, that awards people based on their inclusiveness.
Oh my God.
Novant received top 25 status for 5 different categories. Working with people with disabilities, inclusion and diversity for Black and people of color, inclusion for transgender people, And if you'll hold on one second, I'll pull up the rest because I had just pulled it up to make sure I was super accurate on it. Let's see. And the receiving person from Novant was Tanya Blackman. She's the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion at Novant. And then, I'm sorry?
You said, oh, I need to write this down. Go ahead.
And I was saying that I'm blocked.
You can send it to me.
Okay. And the person that awarded it to him was Dr. Cher Gregory, a Chief Health Equity Officer, Executive Sponsor of the Year Award for her work in physicians for BRG. BRG, it was Novant Health in Winston-Salem that received the award for women, providing diversity and inclusion in the workplace for women, persons with abilities, Black, African American people, pride, and veterans were what Novant received their awards for in 2020. They had a big press release from it. Several Charlotte publications published this award. Novant, Tanya has issued a statement. We are proud to be recognized by the Association of ERGs and Councils for our efforts to embed diversity and inclusion into our organization, said Tanya Blackman, Executive Vice President and Chief Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Officer at Novant Health. At Novant Health, diversity and inclusion are part of our core values, and we strive to engage the strengths and talents of each team member to ensure a strong organization capable of providing remarkable health to our patients, families, and communities. So they're receiving lovely awards for being inclusive and diverse. Here's the specific awards. They were recognized for expansion of Novant's health, leveraging internal female talent, leadership development program to include women at all employment levels. They received a reward for persons with abilities for different world simulation. They received an award for Black African American, recognized for Novant's diversity and inclusion speaker series. And then Pride, recognized for its work in the implementation of the new computer-based sexual orientation and gender identity, Why It Matters, and then for its work with employing veterans. So obviously this policy they're setting into place is completely opposite of what they're promoting their workspace to be like, and by discriminating against these birth workers. I think that talking to these, and there's other diversity awards that Novant's received, but I think that talking to these organizations that are awarding Novant these excellent, everyone wants to be known for their diversity and inclusion, but the bottom line is Novant's receiving money for this. They're a registered nonprofit hospital. They're receiving government funding, and they're still putting in place restrictions that are discriminatory 100% in nature against people based on economic status. And this is a really, if we can just get attention to it in the media, if we can get a lawyer to take up on this, this is an extremely discriminatory policy. It's really unbelievable, forgive my dog in the background, that they're pushing this through, but nobody is picking up the story. This is blatant discrimination against people. It's discrimination against their patients, and they're sitting there collecting money for people that are birthing on Medicaid, for people, they're getting their baby-friendly status money, and they're still sitting here participating and putting into place these policies. And we need to bring it to light in the press, but we also need to let these organizations that are sending them all these wonderful awards know what they are doing here. But I'm so concerned that this is just flying under the radar and we can't get any media to pick it up. It's disturbing to me. I actually reached out to a reporter this morning that I know is a rights activist and has covered a lot of the BLM marches and all of that stuff. And I'm really trying to talk to him about all of this. But with everything going on in the media now between COVID and the politics and everything. It's just not an important thing. And we need birthing women. And I think that it's important that we attack this not only as doulas, but as potential birthers at Novant. I could be pregnant and have a baby, and why am I being discriminated against? Because I can't afford these doulas that are cornering the market and setting these outrageous prices. And this is discriminating against me. It's discriminating against everyone. And people should be more angry about it. And then you have people where we try to engage in discussion with them, and they're like, well, I already hired my vendor doula and they can come there. Yeah, but I've also had inquiries for people saying, I can't get a vendor doula. They're all booked. Can you be my doula? And I'm having to tell them, no, you need to talk to Novant about that. I can be your doula, but I'm going to have to take your partner's place. And these kind of things we need to attack it from every area, not just Novant itself, but the people that are awarding them these diversity awards, the people that are in there saying, yeah, Novant's great. They hire a certain percentage of African Americans. They hire this certain percentage of people with disabilities. But what are they doing to their own patients? They're limiting them. They're making them feel uncomfortable in a birth setting. And sorry, it just gets me so angry that this is going on. And I'll sit down now, but it's important to know that Novant's sitting here collecting money and these wonderful awards and publicizing them while out the same mouth doing this kind of stuff.
Emily, I have a question for you. Have you guys done anything like, have you picketed outside of the hospital? Because that is a fantastic way to get the local news to come out and find out why you have a problem.
I am all for picketing. It's been thrown around, but we have not organized it.
I would, because I would love to be a part of that.
I would love
that is the best way to get anybody to look at you, is to actually be outside of the building and have a bunch of people. You get a permit from the city to do it, and then the news comes out, and then you get the coverage, and that's how you get the ball rolling. And then hopefully somebody sees it on a national level somewhere else, and then they want to pick up the story. That's just something we've done before. I've done it for breastfeeding in Georgia when it was illegal to breastfeed. I flew to Georgia and did a sit-in with moms, and I've done this before. I was just wondering if you guys had already done it.
We have not. I would love to organize something like that. I think it would. That's what Novant values more than anything. I used to work for Novant. I was a labor and delivery nurse there. And their reputation is what they protect more than anything. And when that is challenged, action will happen. If it's pointed out on national news or any news, what they're doing, and people see it and are outraged by it, they will change their policies. And at this point, I would be happy with them saying, well, COVID's too much of a danger. Okay, then everybody gets one support. At least it's equal across the board.
Right. That's true. Malia was saying, I'm trying to talk to her, typing and too hard. No, she was saying that local news organizations get big advertising money from the hospitals. Yeah. Well, we could still make it news. I don't mind.
True, but they did cover another issue. Local news organizations just cover another issue about there was like a dispute with United Healthcare and the anesthesiologist at Novant, where these women were getting like bills. Their anesthesiologists at Novant were out of network with United Healthcare, so they go in, they get an epidural, and they get a bill for $7,000. They have to pay out of pocket because their insurance doesn't cover the anesthesiologist, even though they cover Novant. That whole like mess. So that story was getting out there. That story is okay to tell, apparently, even though it kind of makes Novant look bad because they weren't really informing their patients about it. But our story, like, we've had, Kira and I both, we've talked to reporters, and it's just like, oh yeah, we're excited about this. And then it like goes nowhere.
Part of it, I think with going along with that anesthesiologist story, it just doesn't sit right. They are restricting access to doulas who have been proven to lower the requests for epidurals and then slapping them with the $7,000 bill when they need an epidural when they've denied you the doula. So the optics on that don't look good to me.
Yeah. I mean, they don't look good. Yeah. I mean, nobody likes to get $7,000 charge that they weren't expecting for their birth. So there was a lot of people angry about that, but it's been really challenging to also even get the birthing families to care about this issue. Because it's kind of like what Emily was saying, like, they're like, well, my vendor doula's in, I have my doula, you know, and it's like,
I'm covered.
But so many people don't, you know, but it's like, I think birthing families are so used to not getting what they want and being told what to do, being told you have to do this, we don't allow that. They're so used to that being told we don't allow those doulas, we only allow these doulas, they're just like, okay, you know, they're so used to it. They're so used to just hearing of what is allowed and what the hospital will do and won't do for them. And they're so unused to being able to use their voice in any way that they don't, you know, it's like, okay, I guess I can't have a doula, or I can only have, you know, these doulas. So Gena, you need to come to Charlotte. Yes.
Did you say I said, well, I'll come to Charlotte.
We'll get you here.
Like, I'll go to jail if it makes it bigger news. It's fine. Yeah, no problem. I'll chain myself to the hospital door. But yeah, thank you guys for the work that you're doing. I really appreciate it. This is what keeps me alive and makes me want to get out of bed in the morning. I want to thank everybody who came on today. I know we could talk about this all day long. I would like to do another program coming up soon about really thinking about the kind of doula work that you do and who do you work for. I think that the title of that would be Who Do You Work For? And we can get into that a lot bigger. I'd love to have you all back on. I want to thank Jessie. Thank you for being on. Please, everyone who is a speaker and everyone who's watching, can we all just follow each other on Instagram and support each other in the work that we do? You can find Jessie's a doodad. That's why I set up on the Instagram post that I made today. My phone's blowing up. Like, when are you going to be done with your talk? You said you were going to be done at 12. So on this particular post, I put everyone's Instagram on the bottom. So please follow all of our wonderful speakers on the panel. And then if somebody follows you, follow them back.
And also follow the hashtag #AskNovant.
Oh yeah, and Ask Novant, and I just hashtag Novant Health, because they don't want to see any of that crap when somebody looks them up. So do that. I love doing that stuff. I'm the meanest.
Thank you so much, Gena.
Oh, thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone. What else is I going to say? Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Andrea, for being here. Kira, Tracy, Molly, thanks for popping in. Allison, of course. Allison, I just want you to read the Bible to me. and then when we're done with that, you can read the rest of the library to me. I'm not Christian or anything. I just want to hear you talk.
I will talk
I appreciate
anytime.
everybody for coming in. We're going to talk a lot more. And thank you for calling me. It was Tracy and Andrea that brought this to my attention. I didn't know it was going. I've been living in my own little depressed bubble here in Austin. If you came in late and you want to hear this entire talk, I'm going to be editing it and putting it up on my YouTube channel. You should be able to find it at Gena Kirby, Gena Kirby on YouTube. It'll be up tomorrow. I'm not putting it in my Patreon. I'm not making anybody pay to watch it. I want everybody to see this, and I would really like for you to share it. I put a bunch of snippets of it up in my IGTV. So go in there and go ahead and tag Novant Health. I'd love for them to know how many people are watching today, in all of them, if you have a minute. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I love every single one of you that's in here. Thank you for giving me your time and for the work that you do, the good work that you do, the hard work that you do. Thank you, Kira. Thanks, everyone. What else is I going to say? That's it. If you're still watching, whoever's watching this on YouTube, and you enjoy the work that I do, you can support me at on my Venmo. It's just $1 or $2 to pay for my babysitter for later tonight when I have to edit all this stuff. All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. We'll have you on
Thank you,
again. And
ladies.
until next time, please take care of yourself and take care of each other.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.